Welcome back, my little recusants, to another episode of our Pokemon Yellow episodic Nuzlocke. We continue the story so far, with Roxas now approaching Fuchsia City with the aim of getting his next gym badge, and at the behest of a phone call from the international spy that he met on the SSN. As it turns out, this private investigator has now turned his keen sleuthing skills to uncovering Roxas and his family connections, namely that of his father. Roxas is told over a dramatic phone call on a quick flight back to Saffron City to meet with a mutual spy informant that Roxas is now in much deeper to this whole conspiracy than he would first be led on to believe. Roxas' father was indeed a scientist, but Roxas' father didn't drown off the coast of Palatown, as he was led to believe nearly all of his life from Professor Oak, his own mother. But in fact, his father was a scientist involved in what's known as the Cinnabar Mansion experiment, of which nearly all information is redacted, except to say that all other information that isn't redacted was destroyed in a fire re-explosion that consumed much of the mansion on Cinnabar Island itself. The chain of events didn't stop there, however. Roxas' father was in fact related to Don Giovanni, making Roxas the nephew of the crime boss that he has fought so hard to defeat on multiple occasions already. This shook Roxas, and Roxas, now reeling, doesn't know what to believe. If Professor Oak knew this, and if his mother knew this, then Professor Oak sending him out on this challenge to go tackle the Pokemon League, Giovanni not stopping him initially, Giovanni knowing perhaps they're related, it all was too much to try and comprehend. The international spy simply says to meet one of his colleagues atop the Celadon department store. There's a code. They exchange simple items like water or lemonade for powerful upgrades to his Pokemon's attacking arsenal. He's also taught to go train in a secret school, a gym not affiliated by the League, but in fact of spies and other martial artists that work within this organization of crime-stopping individuals. Roxas is told that a guard at the gate once again will accept a simple drink to pass into Saffron City. With all of this made, let's roll our title card. Mastering Martial Arts. Roxas now begins to deposit loads of items into the PC that he no longer has need of. The super rod he got on his walk down the pier, the helix fossil that he will eventually resurrect, the coin case from the Rocket Game Corner, whose Pokemon are now being liberated and taken to the Safari Zone for extra care. Roxas still is reeling from this revelation. He's the nephew of Giovanni, the Rocket leader? His dad didn't die off the shores of Palatown. His entire fear of water, all based on this one lie. Perhaps an attempt to make sure that he would never sail south or swim south far enough to uncover the truth about his father. With the TM Ice Beam in tow, as well as Rock Slide and Tri Attack, Roxas realizes that it will have to be his focus and mission to take down Team Rocket, and maybe having skills from these martial art masters could help him in overthrowing the Elite Four. It's well known that the Elite Four consisted of the following trainers: an Ice-type trainer, Lorelei, the Fighting-type master, Bruno, the Ghost-type leader, Agatha, and the Dragon Master, Lance. Dragons were a rare Pokemon species within the Kanto region, only prizing of the Dratini line, and a Pokemon much sought after by collectors, but only appearing to those worthy enough to be considered a dragon tamer. This rarity extended into Johto, with Lance's cousin, Claire, being a trainer who has been chosen to tame and raise dragons as her battling companions. However, this still didn't sit right with Roxas. This is why Giovanni let him win. This is why all of this craziness with the ghost Pokemon telling him that he was instrumental in the problem and the salvation of these issues. Whatever research his father had done to help Team Rocket in whatever their affairs were, Roxas was glad that at least in his part, by taking these fossils, that he would be able to thwart their plans. Entering the martial artist dojo, the master simply says that if he can get through the trials of the 4 other trainers, he can gain the alliance of a powerful, unique fighting type Pokemon, almost unique to Bruno's team. Releasing Huntress now into her element, the one type of Pokemon that she has an advantage against, apart from grass, Huntress takes to the sky, but even in the air, the fighting Pokemon simply focus their energies, jumping from the rafters and chasing down the bird even as it soars through the sky. Taking to the sky once again, Huntress dodging and weaving, all the while the monkey Pokemon jumping across the rafters, focusing its energy to allow it to have a critical strike. But with Huntress's skill, it is well able to endure the critical hit from the now rampaging Primeape, as its rage causes it to bounce across the walls in a fury. With one fly attack and then a responding quick attack, the first trial of the martial artist dojo has come to an end. The first trainer bows in acceptance. All the different fighters across the land train here. However, once they realize that Roxas in fact has a haunter, they acknowledge that Roxas could have had this entire gym challenge voided, since Haunter would be completely immune to any and all of their attempted abilities. So even though he is using a flying type Pokemon, they do concede that he's still fighting them with a level of skill, since he could have trivialized all of their attempts of fighting him by using Haunter, to making all of their attempted attacks completely useless. This now burly Machoke makes Roxas think back to his own Machoke, Chad, back at Professor Oak's lab, back under Professor Oak's control. He couldn't fathom how Professor Oak could have lied to him in such a way. To think that the man that started him on this Pokemon journey, to collect Pokemon, to battle gym trainers, was it just to get him out of the way? Did he think that Team Rocket would come after him now? They had completely ignored his existence all the rest of his life until now. No, it was only once Roxas started journeying that he came into contact and conflict with Team Rocket. Could that have been their plan? To have Roxas be a weapon to fight against Team Rocket? When Giovanni said he had potential, is Roxas finding this easy? The raising of Pokemon coming so naturally? As part of a lineage? A bit like the Dragon Tamers do certain people's charism or bloodlines or something about the biology just make them better masters of Pokemon? As Roxas effortlessly breezed through the apparently internationally acclaimed martial arts dojo, it seemed so. These trainers that were clearly older than him, that have clearly trained most of their life with these Pokemon to an expert level, while Roxas, only starting his Pokemon adventure maybe a month ago, has Pokemon of this caliber raised so quickly, completing gym challenge after gym challenge, back to back to back, with only his rival being able to train at an equal level and actually take out one of his Pokemon, Butterfree. But Roxas, even then, thinking on his ability to commune with the ghosts, to reconnect with his now deceased Butterfree and raise it to more ghostly powers as a haunter, while other channelers, people that were devoted as priests and mediums to the ghostly Pokemon, were hardly able to battle them and were instead simply possessed. He wondered, did those ghost Pokemon ever try to possess him and couldn't? He then thought back, again through previous chapters in this story, of the psychic Pokemon Abra leading him towards the Team Rocket hideout, towards the liberation of those different Pokemon. And with a similar psychic whisper, as Roxas walks the streets of Saffron City, now teeming with rocket grunts, a similar voice tells him, "Come this way. Speak to the man. Let your true power be opened." Roxas tries to ignore the warning, instead going back to heal his Pokemon. But there is some presence here in Saffron City, some telepathic resonance that is speaking to him, with him, for an intention that at the moment he does not know. Looking to Huntress and seeing her growing in strength to strength, remembering back to that once naive Pidgey that simply wants to travel with Roxas and to become the best flyer type it could be. But on approaching a stranger on the streets of Saffron, Roxas is handed the TM for Psychic, a powerful move of psychic energy that his ghostly Pokemon Haunter could learn, allowing him to not only be immune to the fighting type Pokemon, but in fact use psychic damage to superly affect it. Not only that, allowing Haunter to use psychic power to attack and destroy poison types, of which he had already been hyperly resistant. Haunter has now become a very powerful threat on Roxas's team. Seeing the now kicking sensation Hitmonlee, it begins to meditate as its long, springy legs start to bounce in anticipation of an attack. Huntress, however, is too swift and flies gracefully in an ability to attack and a knockout Hitmonlee, with the flurry of fly and quick attack being a useful combination. The speed of the Hitmonchan, however, much higher level than Huntress herself, unleashes a volley of hits, dealing a good third of damage to the flyer herself. Taking advantage of its speed once again, it seeks to get even faster and faster. However, missing its chance to land another set of Comet Punches, Huntress takes the time to land a critical fly attack, leaving the Hitmonchan unconscious. Huntress growing in strength and strength, her plumage shimmering and getting even stronger as the levels increase. Roxas is then given the chance to take one of the Karate Master's Pokemon, a Hitmonchan or a Hitmonlee. Roxas considers for a moment, but considering the fact that Hitmonchan was actually able to land attacks as opposed to Hitmonlee, Roxas chooses the Pokemon, calls him Boxer, and then using the Pokédex scans his information, and it reads as follows. Hitmonchan, the punching Pokemon, punches in corkscrew fashion. It can punch its way through a concrete wall in the same way as a drill. Leaving the dojo and then flying to Lavender Town and continuing along the pier to Route 12, Roxas decides to look for a new team member given our Nuzlocke rules. And given the encounter table and duplicates clause, we in fact have every Pokemon bar the rare spawn of Farfetch'd. We'll cut to when we're able to find one. But this area does prove a great grinding spot for Vulpix. Our plan here is to level Vulpix up to level 34, so she learns Flamethrower. Being an evolved Pokemon and a high-leveled Pokemon as well, Flare gains a very good amount of experience. But what I will say as well, this is just kind of outside of narrator talk, I do hope that people don't mind, but there was a giant, amount of time in the footage that I was just recording grinding. And I thought maybe I could just put up an episode for like a Q&A and just discuss different questions and things. But unfortunately, it just seemed really boring to look through. So there basically will come a point in the story where I will just say, and Roxas did a lot of training, which he will. And then we'll just cut to where, our Pokemon are trained and leveled, etc. And just to say this now, while people are watching the Nuzlocke challenge, I have always accepted gift Pokemon. Now, I didn't collect the Eevee yet, and I never collected any of the starters just because I do sometimes feel like every Pokemon Yellow playthrough just becomes Pikachu, Charizard, Venusaur, Blastoise, like maybe a Pidgeot or a Fearow or a Dodrio, like some sort of flying type, and like the Snorlax, and that's kind of every team of 6. So I did want my, playthrough to just not typically have the starters. But just so everyone's aware, I do end up collecting them, and then again, off screen, I just raise them up to their final evolutions. And the only reason I do that is the next couple of gyms, when it's Sabrina, Koga, and Blaine, all of them just skyrocket up to the level 50 level cap. Which is just a bit bonkers, considering we just beat Erica and she was like in the, late 20s, And I'm like, for me to actually have any sort of chance of getting by these battles, I'm going to need to have to level these up. And so I've leveled the main team, that is Peekaboo, Huntress, Vulpix, so Pikachu, Pidgeot, Ninetales, like eventually I get Ninetales, Haunter, Gyarados, and Victreebel. I eventually just level all of them to like the 40s. Just so I'm able to go on and like fight the gyms and just have episodes be interesting. Because like if you're too under leveled, like we're not even level 30 yet. And yet we're meant to expect to be fighting Pokemon in their 50s. It's just a little bit ridiculous, and I don't see the point in me being that underleveled, but also having you guys have to sit and witness me just running and attacking Weeping Bells and Glooms and stuff that are, just for quick levels. And also, just so you guys are aware, I don't even grind there, to be honest. I grind on the Pokemon Tower, where you can step on the little Healy circle. And basically, I just end up fighting with Ninetales, Gyarados, Haunter, like all of the Pokemon basically, bar Victreebel. And then Victreebel I just train against the Grass-type Pokemon with Cut. And I just do that on repeat until Victreebel gets leveled up, you know what I mean? But just so you guys are aware of that, going forward the next couple of episodes, like we still have like the Safari Zone and stuff, and we have to get to Fuchsia as well. But basically, like after the Safari Zone, there's just going to be like a bit of a time lapse, and then Roxas is going to just come out of the Hyperbolic Time Chamber and just be well able for all these gyms. Then we can kind of just blitz them out as we go. And obviously, this is kind of also a big, huge reveal as the kind of deeper story that I'm kind of weaving, with Roxas now being the nephew of, Giovanni, which does make him the cousin of another person in, the lore of Pokemon. So if you know, you know. But again, I just want to take the time to just talk that through with you guys. And if you wouldn't mind leaving a comment on just, yeah, that's no problem. And as I say, I'm not going to be using the starters unless something disastrous goes wrong. In which case, I have my backups of like the Hitmonchan, the like 3 starters. I have like other Pokemon that I can use, like Wigglytuff, like, Eevee, etc. Like, I can kind of take the time to rebuild a team, because this has been one of the longest series on the channel, just because I unfortunately start and stop it so often. So like this has been the first series on the channel, and like it's still not completed, so I do just want to make sure that I haven't gone all this way just to fail after literally 2 years of recording content and stuff for you guys. So what I will say is, gifts can be allowed, and I'm allowing them, and I'm kind of doing my own spin on it anyway. So, if you take Whiteout as a game over, I'm not going to be taking it that way. I'm going to take it until I do not have a usable Pokemon to finish out this journey, in which case our story will just have a sad ending. And so be it. But, that's not to say there aren't going to be any hard battles. It's not to say that I can't predict that the rest of this is smooth sailing. But I do sort of have a trajectory where I envision the end of the game being fairly deathless if I play my cards right. Like, we've really stabilized something, you know, great. Our type diversity is really good, and our power is really good. Like, once we teach Gyarados strength, we'll have like a strong physical hit. We have like, we can teach Toxic to Victory Bell. Like, I have so many plans. Once we kind of get to Fuchsia, get down to Cinnabar, and actually get some of the final stage Pokemon. And this is where the TM distribution is going to be really important as well, ladies and gents, because I mean, we have Ice Beam, which is basically our dragon killing machine. And it's like, I can teach it to Gyarados. Absolutely I could. But is Gyarados going to be in the final team? Like, Gyarados is water flying. I have a normal flying, and I have a very, very soft spot for Huntress. I mean, I have such a soft spot for Pidgeot. I would like Pidgeot and Pikachu, the first two Pokemon that I ever captured, I would like them to make it to the end game. And as much as Splishy has like had that arc, it has like gotten Roxas over his hydrophobia, really cemented his growth as a trainer to finally just master that Pokemon and not be afraid of his power and strength. I'm kind of just owning that, you know? But I have to look at the type diversity. So just like with Nidoqueen, where I was like, I really want Haunter. Haunter will just be a really good defensive type with immunity to fighting, immunity to normal, and all of this other stuff. And then it's like, yeah, so I will have 2 immunities. I'll have resistance to poison. I'll be able to use psychic attacks to do super effective to poison, super effective to fighting, and like Nightshade to normal. So no longer will Raticate terrify me with its Hyper Fang or like Karate Chop with its high crit rate. It's like, I had to make the decision. Nidoqueen is just better. So I'm just going to swap out Nidoqueen. And hate me in the comments. Please comment if you do disagree, because I would like to hear your opinions genuinely. Like, you know, it's not just that it's good for the algorithm. It's like, no, like genuinely, let's have a conversation. Because I'm looking to swap out Gyarados. If we make it all the way to Cinnabar, I get to have Omanyte and Aerodactyl. They are revived Pokemon. They are Pokemon from items. They are essentially in the Gen 1 equivalent of eggs. And I got 1 egg from Mount Moon as a gift from the, you know, super nerd. Literally had to collect it, couldn't progress the story. I treat that like as the Togepi egg. It's like a mandatory, you know, key item gift. And then I did have an optional gift in Pewter City, but like I got an egg in Pewter City. There was no other encounter or like capture in Pewter City. So that's where I got it, and that's what I'm going to do. So like I'll have Omanyte, Omastar, and Aerodactyl. And looking at type-wise, I'm like, I would get water type, yes. I would get a rock type resistance. So like resisting Hyper Beam is great, because powerful Pokemon have Hyper Beam. And I know you'd say, oh, but like, you know, you have Haunter, it's immune to Hyper Beam. It's like, yes, that's true. But Haunter doesn't learn Ice Beam, as far as I'm aware. And nor would I want him to, because I do think, genuinely, Omastar, just story-wise, being this big MacGuffin for Team Rocket, it's like, yeah, I have to just go with the idea that these ancient prehistoric Pokemon are going to have really good powers that are going to help them topple, you know, the threat that lies beyond. But that's pretty much going to be the episode, ladies and gents. Roxas has, you know, gotten the blessing of the martial artists and have basically said he has the strength and conviction. He just has to follow the path. And making his way down the pier, Roxas is determined to make it to Fuchsia City, and find a way to get to Cinnabar and uncover the truth about his father. That's going to be our episode. Have a good one.